Welcome to Waiting on the Trade, a comics book club for people who can't keep up with monthly comics. I'm Matt Ledger.
I'm Patrick Fitzgerald Fleck.
And I'm Bryce Meaning.
This month, we're talking about Cherry Magic 30 Years of Virginity Can Make You a Wizard by Yu Toyota. Gotta get that.
I feel the exclamation point and the question mark was there.
Yeah, the interrobang. You gotta get that in there.
Yeah.
You gotta get both. Otherwise, what's the point? Now, in case you need a refresher, Cherry Magic 30 Years of Virginity Can Make You a Wizard is the story of Adachi, a 30-year-old virgin who has discovered that his virginity somehow makes him able to read the minds of those he touches. Things begin heating up when Adachi starts reading the mind of his coworker Kurosawa, who has a gigantic crush on him. Ooh. It's one of those manga. Will they, won't they?
Oh, they will.
They haven't, though, Bryce, which is an issue I have.
Volume 1. What? They almost kissed.
Yeah, but like that's the end of volume 1, right? Is the kiss? Like that's the although the cliffhangery aspect of it does draw me in. I may even actually read volume 2.
I was tempted. It's like, I could just pick up the second one and see where it goes. That's how they get you.
That's how they get you.
That's how they get you.
It didn't feel like a thing I would want to read volume 2 of based on just like my general tastes and stuff, but like I'm kind of interested. I'm kind of into it. But before we get into all that, need to stop, pause a second, welcome Bryce back to the podcast. Bryce, how's things?
Good to be here.
Yeah, welcome back.
Thank you. Things are good. I'm alive.
Yeah, you were
Yay.
without power for a couple days, right?
Yeah, just one night. It's
Oh,
not
okay.
that dramatic.
All right.
Yeah. Any day above ground is always good.
Nice.
Jesus.
The motto of the podcast.
Cool.
So we are going to be trying a new kind of like more targeted format that we've been trying on our Sandman episodes, where each of us brought one discussion question that we want to talk about with the group. And it's going to be a good discussion, but I think I can't help myself. I want to do like a little bit of a tangent before we start the 3 discussion questions.
We're going to rate all the characters 1 to 10 on how we liked them, right?
10, Kurosawa?
Yeah, you're Kurosawa stan?
I mean, a little bit, yeah. I mean, he's just like, he's very nice.
Very dreamy.
But we'll talk about that because that's actually one of our discussion questions. So
That's
I can't
true.
get too far ahead on that. But I wanted to ask first, Bryce, how did you find this book and what made you want to recommend it? And then I want to talk about just generally if we as a group enjoyed this, which it sounds like we did, but we'll get into it. So Bryce, how did you find this book? Did you want to read it?
Actually, I found it because of the TV show, which is excellent, by the way. I'm really into boys love stuff in general. So when they made a boys love adaptation of this book, and it got like really good reviews, it definitely caught my attention. And so then I watched the show. Amazing actors did a great job. It's got one of the actors is Machida Keita, and he's also in some other Netflix things like Alice in Borderland. And it's got
Who's the guy in Alice in Borderland? Sorry.
yeah,
Is
he's the bleach blonde hair
jock,
jock
right?
one. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
So it's got these really well-known actors, and to me, that's what like stood out. Mostly boys love TV shows tend to be unknown people.
Okay, so here's where I'm going to stop you. And because we're not having real show notes, because it's a more targeted discussion, I'm going to ask you to explain what boys love means.
Well, basically that. It's 2 boys that fall in love.
Okay, there you go.
It's
That's
generally written for a female audience, and it's generally written by a female.
Yeah, that's the thing that was interesting to me when I was reading around and doing a little bit of research last night, is that it's mostly written by women for women.
Yes. So that being said, basically it doesn't represent the views of like actual gay men.
Okay.
Sure.
But yeah, as a gay man, it's fun to read, but it's definitely like a fantasy romanticized version.
Well, I mean,
of,
even
like,
as a let's say
the straight man.
99.9% straight man or whatever, like it's still pretty fantastical.
But anyway, so the show was great. It got me interested in the manga, and that's why I decided to recommend it.
Nice. Yeah, I actually couldn't find a pronoun for you, Toyota, when I was looking online. I found a they,
Yeah.
but I didn't find a female or male pronoun. So unknown as far as I know. Willing to be corrected on Twitter.
Speaking of Twitter, that's basically how this whole thing came about.
Yeah, there were notes at the end. She did like a Twitter post of a couple panels.
Yeah, that's all it was going to be. And then someone was like, you should expand on that and make it an actual book.
And then the makers of Final Fantasy were like, "Yeah, you should make
And
this."
Square Enix is like, yes, yes.
Yeah.
And you Toyota was like, "It's going to get sexy," and they were like, "It's fine." We had an entire game about how sin
Cat,
is the metaphor for premarital sex, so it's okay.
yeah. Cat boys and girls are a mainstay in many of our games. Let's do this.
All right, so yeah, before we move on to the general discussion questions, just wanted to like briefly touch on, did you enjoy the book? Pat, you're
Yes.
first.
Oh,
Sorry,
spoilers, Bryce,
Bryce.
spoilers.
Jumped over you.
Yeah, I did. I thought it was a nice romantic story. Like I don't want to get into it because there's going to get into like the discussion stuff, but I liked this relationship much more than previous boy love content that I've watched because I haven't read much manga, but I have watched a couple of animes.
Yeah, some of the stuff I was reading about yesterday, I don't think I would enjoy at all. It seems like it falls into like cliches and traps and things that I don't think should like.
Well, the cliches are in this, but they're much less aggressive than they are in other stuff that I've watched.
Yeah, and also they're mostly nice cliches. Like I'll forgive a cliche that's nice for the most part.
Well, you were saying you're a Kurosawa stan, and I can understand that in this one because even though he wants to pursue Kodachi, it's not aggressive, and he backs off the moment that he sees that Kodachi isn't comfortable with his uh, actions, his pursuit. So the fact that he respects him that much is it makes the relationship more fun to read about. So yeah, I had a good time. And like we were saying before we started recording, I was gonna, or maybe we said at the beginning, I don't know, time is a flat circle. Uh, I was gonna buy the next volume and maybe even volume 3. Who knows? I was having a good time.
Oh my God, so crazy, Pat.
I know, I know.
So Bryce, specifically for you, I mean, I assume you enjoyed it because you're the one who recommended it, but like, how does it compare to the TV show for you?
Um, I would say the TV show actually adds a bit more detail. There's like coworker characters that are side characters that fill in more scenes, and it. Okay, so we were talking earlier about how on the first page they just kind of quickly established that he's a virgin. Wakes up one day, he's still 30. He's turned 30. He's still a virgin, and now he has these magical powers or these mind reading powers.
Take a slow introduction to that in this show.
Yeah, they don't explain how he gets it, or why that happens, but
But
he
it's more
starts
drawn
off.
out than like
Yeah,
one sentence in
it's
a caption.
it starts off like a couple days before his birthday.
Okay.
Oh, okay. That
Yeah.
could be pretty funny to see him like suddenly able to
See,
read
I
that.
really like how like condensed it is and how it's just like, okay, here we go. This is this book. So I don't know if I would like it as much in the TV show if it's more drawn out like that. I
I
kind of
can see
like that.
lots of comedic stuff for that though, for him not realizing what's happening.
That's
Yeah.
true.
Yeah, the show pretty much covers volumes, I think, 1 and 2.
In the show, does Suge also get powers like he does in the
Yep,
manga?
yep.
Okay,
And he has,
interesting.
well, he definitely has more screen time in the show, but I'm
Sure.
guessing he gets more time in volume 2 and 3
Yeah,
and
it seems
onward.
like it.
So.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, I think we will move into the discussion question portion of the
Of
new
this
format.
evening. Yes.
Yeah. So I think because we've already kind of talked around it, let's just dive in with Bryce's question.
Sure.
Yeah, Kurosawa, perfect boyfriend, creepy serial killer. What do you guys think? If this were not a rom-com.
Sure. Well, what do you think? Because we know what Matt thinks already.
Yeah, a little bit.
Are you leaning more towards the serial killer, Bryce? Did
Yeah,
he
I
creep you
mean,
out a little bit?
if this is not a rom-com, like let's say this is just like I don't know, just a drama
Sure.
or whatever, slice of life.
Horror.
Uh, yeah. I mean, I would definitely say that Kurosawa's a little bit creepy. He's a little too perfect. He knows Adachi's pajama
Measurements.
pants size, yeah.
He just guessed really well, Bryce. He
He
just guessed really well.
right. And actually, a friend of mine did bring it up that like in Japan, because maybe people are much more similar in sizes than they are in America.
It'd be
It would be
easier.
easier to like just randomly pick pajamas that fit.
That sort of makes sense, yeah.
But I guess still like having a set specifically for this one person at
Yeah,
your
didn't he
house,
say he bought it just in case Kadachi
just
ever
in
came
case.
over?
He at
Yeah.
least bought them picturing what
I've been
Adachi
calling
would
him
look like in
Kadachi, which is a
them.
monster from Monster Hunter, and not Adachi.
I
Why
know.
have you guys not been correcting me? Oh no,
I thought it was just a different pronunciation.
Adachi, not Kadachi. All right, continue on.
Yeah. So yeah, he's perfect on the outside and completely watches Adachi's every move. It's a little bit creepy, a little unnerving.
See, I have a hard time accepting the premise of your question, which is if this weren't a rom-com, because it definitely is a rom-com.
It's a what if question.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
gotta,
I
you
know.
gotta just, just don't think about that.
No, I know, but like, I think the fact that he does the things he does, like, it leans into the fact that it is a rom-com. I mean, yeah, definitely creepy to buy a person pajamas like that, I suppose, right? Like, but at the same time, he's nice. He takes him out. He buys him dinner even when he's supposed to be treated.
The only things, obviously, the pajama thing is slightly concerning, but I think you can gloss over that. The other stuff, like the fact that we get to see what he's thinking when he looks at Adachi sometimes in the right light, or when he's sleeping, and we see like the pervy thoughts that he has.
Yeah.
It's a little creepy, but there again, he doesn't act on them. He has little angels saying you can mess with them a little bit, but he doesn't do it. He doesn't do it.
But he wants to.
Well, yeah, but I mean, like, the only reason the cell phone thing is creepy is because we kind of, it's not even creepy, right? But, like, it's a little tense, at least, is like, because we know what he's been thinking. And Pat's right in that, like, in any normal situation where Adachi doesn't know what Kurosawa's thinking, like, I don't think he would be as alarmed as he is in that panel. And he's mostly,
The cell phone thing was just so he could lean over and look at him sleeping. He admits it to
well,
himself
yeah,
the
I
next
mean, but,
morning.
like, just wants to look at him sleeping, Pat. That's not, that's a little creepy.
Not creepy at all. No, you're you're right. Looming over a sleeping man who you've invited into your home.
I mean, Kurosawa wants to get some.
And he can't sleep all night because he's only separated by a thin wall.
I liked that panel, actually.
The looming or the split wall
No, the
one?
thin wall panel, and then I think there's that caption like
They
"Had my
share
first
the
sleepless night, 30-year-old male" or whatever.
yeah, and they share the thought bubble. I can't sleep.
Yeah.
Aw, yeah, I can see both, but I'm leaning more towards I
I
don't,
mean, if you
good
randomly
guy.
touch your like coworker or like a stranger or whatever, and you can see they're you know they're thinking about like having sex with you, it's a little bit creepy.
Yeah, I do. Told you guys this yesterday when we were chatting on Discord, but like I do really appreciate the use of the comics medium for how like certain thoughts that like can't be expressed in X number of words just become fantasies, like picture fantasies. It's just like such a great use of comics to do that. I'm looking right now at the picture of Adachi in pajamas that Kurosawa is
Pajamas.
picturing.
He's like, what was that? What did I just say?
I so don't want to wear these.
But for okay, so for the like perfect boyfriend argument,
Uh-huh.
I would have to say I like that the offer didn't make him just like a pretty boy who's just like perfect at everything and is just like the main character's like romance interest. She has that chapter at the end there where
You see it from his perspective.
yeah, he wants to be taken seriously and he doesn't want to only rely on his looks.
Yeah,
And like I thought that was really nice.
he's
And
been
so
cursed with good looks.
he's not just like a flat romance character.
Yeah, and like I was saying, he's respecting Adachi's reluctance to going through with dating a man, and he sees that it's something that he's not quite comfortable with, so he's going to give him time.
Yeah, even at the end, right? Like Kurosawa's like, you know what you just said, right? Like you understand what's going on here, right?
And then when he goes in for the kiss and sees that Adachi isn't feeling it, he's like, "Whoa, okay,
Yeah,
don't need to do it.
just through
I'm
the
gonna
forehead.
back off."
Yeah.
Yeah, Which, perfect boyfriend material right there.
I'm looking at the panel where he's making Adachi like his favorite breakfast, and I just have
Right?
like they're not even dating yet at this point. He's making the guy his favorite breakfast.
Look at that omelet. It's a pro omelet.
Yeah, he already knows Adachi's favorite breakfast foods without.
Yes.
Which is, definitely not creepy. Definitely not stalker material.
I mean, there's a thin line between like having a crush on someone and then developing full stalker syndrome.
Yep.
And I would argue Kurosawa falls on the not stalker side of the line. Though I think it is a bit over the top on purpose because comedy.
RomCom.
Which
Yeah.
can be the same thing as horror, essentially.
Well, cool.
I think that kind of leads in
Yeah, which one
to
you do?
my question a bit.
Okay.
Because we talked at the end about how Adachi said, "Hey, I'm into you. Let's give this a go." But then they end up not kissing. And I was trying to figure out after having read it a second time, like whether Adachi is actually bi, because I think he has to be bi if he's attracted to men, because he says that he finds women attractive at the start of the book. And I'm trying to decide like if I assume he is because there's 3 more volumes of the book. So like I assume he is into dudes. But I'm trying like for just this first volume self-contained, it kind of feels like he might just be like figuring out what it's like to be liked by someone and the gender doesn't matter. So I'm curious if you guys thought about that at all, I guess. Like, do you think Adachi is actually bi?
Yeah, my assumption that he's gay and the fact that he has been a virgin for 30 years is because of his repressed homosexuality,
Okay.
and that maybe he's been lying to himself that he's attracted to women because that's just what everyone else is. So obviously I must be attracted to women kind of thing.
Yeah, I did consider that as an option too, of like I'm looking at the first page again because I'm trying to read exactly what he says.
There's that panel where he goes to a soap land, which is
Yeah, but he
basically a
doesn't like
brothel.
it
Oh,
though.
yes. Yeah.
It's like the women's thoughts are so kinky I barfed, which is
Oh,
a point in like in towards what Pat's saying.
yeah, was it actually kinky or was it just straight sex that
Yeah,
like
right.
turned him
Like,
off?
and then the next panel though is the one that I was kind of talking about, where it says to begin with, I'd never be a virgin after all this time if I didn't have issues with touching women I find attractive. So like he at least thinks he finds women attractive. I don't know. It's kind of tough for me to because I don't think he has like sexual
Attraction to a man?
attraction
Yeah,
to Kurosawa in here. I think he has emotional like attraction, if that makes sense.
sure.
Maybe he's not bi, but maybe he's just pansexual.
I mean, there could be that too.
Can you explain the difference, Bryce?
Pansexual, you're attracted to a person for their traits and for them being themselves rather than their uh,
Physical
physical makeup.
attraction.
Yeah.
It's
Okay.
also like any, and correct me if I'm wrong, because obviously I am not an expert, but it's also like any and all genders, right? So you're not
Yeah. You could
like
be,
straight up on a gender binary or whatever.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that could be.
Whereas for me, as a cis gay male, I prefer people that have penises. So,
Follows.
like
Yeah.
I need a specific physical thing.
Sure.
Yeah, which I don't think Adachi does. So maybe pansexual is the correct label if there is a label, which who cares,
Well,
labels or
or has
whatever.
he
But
just given up on physical love because it's just been so long? Like, and the fact that there is someone now that wants that from him, it's completely jarring to him, and he needs to acclimate to that. I don't know.
I guess, do you think he's physically attracted to dudes? Is the short version of my question.
I mean, he said the kiss wasn't bad.
I mean, maybe he is, but I think he's more attracted to Kurosawa's actions,
Sure.
just being
Yeah.
like a nice and perfect person.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which I think if in the TV show, that definitely is what makes Adachi fall for him by the end of the show.
Yeah, and I mean it's also just interesting to me as a person who has not processed something like that. It must be interesting, right, to be a guy who at the very least thinks he's attracted to women. I would argue he is, at least based on the one page, but it's not very much evidence to go on.
Sure.
And then have your first potential emotional relationship be with a man.
I mean, yeah, he could be asexual too. Like we put it up with the Soapland experience. Maybe just
Yeah,
sex.
those thoughts were kinky. Really, they were just like, "Hey, let's have sex."
Yeah, maybe he's just not into sex. It could be a thing. Who knows?
Yeah, also that. All right, so should we move on to Pat's question?
I said we should.
Pat, what is your question?
My question is as follows. Do you think telepathic virgin powers are designed to give a helping hand to the romance averse? And would they actually be beneficial in the real world? I see you guys are chomping at the bit to answer. Glad.
So I'm trying to figure out the answer to the first one. I have an answer to the second one. It's no, they would not be. Well, I guess it depends on who you are, actually. Okay,
Yeah,
I'm
it depends on your
reconsidering now.
morals. Yeah.
Yes, Bryce is
On your
right.
morals?
Bryce is right,
Interesting.
exactly.
Because
Yes.
maybe I would use them to commit crimes, and thus they would not be beneficial
Well, no,
to,
I
I guess,
think
general society.
beneficial in the goal of having sex is the sub.
Oh,
Well, I
well,
guess
Is
yeah,
that
for
implied
me.
in the question, Pat?
okay. I guess first you got to answer the first part to then answer the second part. Because if you don't think the powers are given to cure your virginity, then yeah, you could use it to do a whole lot of other stuff. But if you think the
Here's a
powers,
loaded word, Pat.
for the premise of this, it seems to be that the goddess of love, who we saw a little like joke panel, is attributing these powers to the loveless so that they might find love. And lovingness, I guess, is sex. I don't know. So, Matthew,
Mhm.
what is your answer to the first question?
The first question. I don't think we're given enough to go on to have an answer to the first question, honestly. I'm trying to find that joke panel again because that's literally the only evidence we have that there's any rhyme or reason to.
Why it's happening?
Yeah, although both the people we see that get the powers in this, what's the name of the second guy? Because I keep on forgetting.
Suge?
Suge, yeah. Like, very quickly enter into situations where.
Cute boys are just there all of a sudden.
Yeah, right.
Around.
Like they very quickly enter into situations where they could get rid of that virginity thing if they wanted to. Suge a little less so because his guy is not as hot to trot as Kurosawa is.
But at the same time, neither of them would know that there is a potential there without the gift, right? Like Suge would just have ignored the delivery guy as another delivery guy,
Yeah, and
and
Adachi doesn't
Adachi
have
would have just said,
any
"Oh,
idea. Yeah,
Kurosawa is just a ladies' man," and continue to be jealous of him.
I think
Unless
use
like Adachi caught like Kurosawa always like staring at him
Perving
and
on
like,
him.
yeah,
Would he interpret that as Kurosawa's attraction towards him or something else, right?
well then Adachi would think he's a stalker serial killer.
he would definitely do it as something else because even with that scene in the elevator, like he bumps into Kurosawa and Kurosawa's like, "Oh, so cute with that bedhead," and he's like, "I wonder who he's looking at." Like he'd be oblivious the whole time if he didn't
Yeah,
have magic powers.
yeah, and
Also,
maybe
that
that's
bedhead
why.
is barely bedhead. It's like there's
Yeah, I
one
know, right?
hair.
That's what I was saying. It was like that's nothing.
It's like, good lord, if that's
You
bedhead,
find that cute, Kurosawa? Come on over here
fuck.
sometime. I don't comb.
No, it has to be one lock of hair out of place, and that's cute. If it's more than that, you're bum.
That sounds like Japan to me. As a person who's never been to Japan and doesn't know at all. So I think the only canon thing we have to go on is that panel with the weird, very large chested goddess of love.
The goddess of love, of course, she's gonna have a large chest. Of course.
Again, Pat, you're making assumptions that I'm not prepared to make.
Fertility goddesses all have large chests. Look them up, Matt.
Okay, hang on.
That's actually kind of true, I think.
Yeah, thank
Fertility
you.
goddesses. Images.
They're pretty thick all around.
Yeah, well, you're not wrong. We got a lot of images. Too bad we don't have real show notes on this one, listener, because you would get this link.
Look it up yourself, listeners.
Anyways, backtracking to the real point of the question, I think via this, the only thing we can assume is that yes, the intention of the powers is for the person to notice that they are loved, because it says right here that poor dear is so very, very loved, but they haven't even noticed. which I guess explains why maybe everyone doesn't get them, assuming everyone doesn't, because that would be a wild world if everyone got them.
Yeah,
Um,
right.
like maybe only people who are like about to enter a situation where.
Or truly lost causes. I don't know.
See, you keep saying lost cause, Pat.
Okay, the premise of the book, man. I'm not saying anyone in real life. I'm saying these comedic characters. Like Suge is described as like a shut-in, right? Or at least that's what the delivery guy thought him to be, because he's so remote.
I'm not gonna lie, I don't remember much about Suge.
Why
Even if I
not?
read it twice, like Suge just kind of bounces off for me. Very into Adachi Kurosawa. Suge just
Really? Ironically, I was more into towards the end. I
more
was more
into.
into what was going on with Suge. It's like,
I believe
oh,
that.
what's happening here?
There's a
Because I know
cat.
I had a
This guy is
feeling.
slightly more standoffish. Like it feels like a relationship Pat would be more invested in than the main relationship.
Well, I have a sense of where the Adachi Kurosawa is gonna go. I don't know what Suge's up to, other than desperately ordering cat treats and stuff online so the delivery guy comes back.
That that sequence did really remind me of the bit in Scott Pilgrim where Scott Pilgrim figures out Ramona's like an Amazon delivery person and just starts like ordering a bunch of stuff from Amazon.ca and she shows up like literally an hour later
And
somehow
he
and
chucks it in the trash. Yeah.
yeah. So yes, I do believe the powers have intent now that I've looked at this panel again and it's the only thing we have to go on. If you're forcing me to answer your question, my answer is yes.
I mean, yeah, that's the format of the show. So yes, I am. Bryce, would you agree? Are you on
Do
the
they help
fence?
you get laid? Yeah, I think they would.
Okay. Were either
Oh,
of you
no.
disappointed?
Would they
Go ahead.
help you? I have a completely different answer to, and I
Oh,
think
sure. We'll get there. We'll get there.
okay.
I'm sort of adding addendums to this question as I go. But
No
were
worries.
either of you disappointed that Suge got the exact same powers as Adachi?
Yes, very much so.
I too was disappointed. It's like, come on, let's see what like telekinesis can do for you. Come on.
I guess I'm looking at so I didn't pay much attention to like how this page fit into the canon of the book because I was like, oh, it's just a random page that's in the like interstitials, so usually those don't matter so much.
Hmm.
But like it says right here, but they haven't even noticed, right? Which if we had paid attention to that would tell us that like every single time it's going to be mind reading if the intent of the powers is like to
Just to
make it so we
notice
can
that
notice
people
stuff,
actually,
right? Yeah.
which is weird because Suge's thing isn't that the guy, he doesn't ever read the mind and say, oh, that guy has a crush on me. Right? I'm trying to remember what the delivery guy thinks that he's like all of a sudden it's like,
Yeah, the
oh.
delivery guy's kind of standoffish still, I feel like.
Like if anything, the delivery guy is into the cat more than Suge.
A little bit,
Actually,
yeah.
yeah, I think actually Suge just likes the delivery guy and doesn't care what the delivery guy thinks. But he hasn't picked up on the fact that the delivery guy likes him, which at this point us as readers don't know until the next volume.
Well, there's some blushing happening when he was like invited to the room, so
Yeah, there's a
you knew
little
something was
bit
there.
I think he was blushing for the cat.
of
But anyways, yes, I was hoping that more than just telepathy would be granted. Some like
Yes,
super
it's
speed
like
or something. I don't know.
a look inside the podcast. One of our potential questions was going to be like, would you be willing to not have sex for superpowers, and what superpower would it take? I don't think I would do it for contact telepathy.
Like contact telepathy, like touch spells suck. Like at a range, maybe. But there again, that goes to show you the power is more designed to help you towards a romance if you have to physically touch the person,
Yeah, to
right?
read their thoughts. Like it's someone that
Physical
you are
contact
close
is a
to at
must
least.
for yeah. There you go. But yeah, the touch part of it really just it's not great. It's not
No.
a great power.
It also doesn't have to be skin to skin, apparently. Like at some point, Kurosawa and Adachi were just like touching shoulders.
Clothes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Question number two. In the real world, would this actually help anyone get laid?
Again, it depends who you are, I think. I think Bryce is right. Although he was talking about different stuff, I think.
The price is right.
The price is right.
Bryce is right.
Yeah, I mean you could just instantly know if like this person's into you or not, and then whatever not to waste your time trying to pursue them.
I think it benefits the characters in this because both of them aren't unattractive. I think the first rule would be attractive. Second rule would be not unattractive. and this would help you.
So again, we're like kind of assuming they got the powers because fate knew they were going to enter a situation where they would be helpful, right?
Right.
So there's that. But I just like I guess they are helpful for Adachi, but he really doesn't like them. So
Sure.
I'm trying to figure out if that word beneficial applies to him. I mean, I think they are overall beneficial in that I think he is growing as a person as a result of experiencing whatever he's experiencing with Kurosawa. It's not really a relationship at this point, right? But
Well, there's a strange like juxtaposition of the use of the word virginity in this, because if it was just like finding love, then you could say, because yeah, like you were pointing out, I don't think Adachi's anywhere near for a physical relationship with Kurosawa, but the fact that now he's open to the idea that there's a person that might have feelings towards him is a thing, right?
yeah, like there's a person that A finds him attractive and B, and I think honestly even more importantly, like likes him. Because I
Mhm.
don't know if he even really the only other person we see him talk to in here is Suge, and they don't really seem especially close because he doesn't know that Suge is a virgin also until he like reads Suge's mind. So
And he's a romance novelist. That's gotta be tough.
I've been told my romance scenes that I write are not good either, though, so I shouldn't really talk.
Gotta be tough. Like it's a fine line between cringy and actually compelling.
Yeah, apparently I do not like let the characters actually get emotional enough, which I guess might be a very
No
me problem to
foreplay?
have.
Come on, Matthew.
A little bit. It's like young adult fiction. Don't want to do like anything too, risque or whatever. So,
Steamy.
it's like
Hmm.
it's slight, but it was too slight, apparently. It was
Ah,
more like, oh, wow, they're really good friends touching shoulders. Good job, man. It's just like, oh, I don't know that the powers are super helpful, depending on who you are. I think they will be helpful for Adachi.
mhm.
I don't think Suge even like needs them really for whatever's going on with him.
Well, I was gonna say in the show, it's not in the volume that we read, but I feel like Suge would need them because Suge is more into this guy. From an outsider looking in, it looks like Suge is more into this guy, and the delivery guy, it's hard to get a read on because he's got such a tough outer wall.
Sure.
So I feel like having the telepathy would help because then you could
Yeah, that's
actually
true, actually.
know what he's thinking.
Yeah, and I think what gets Suge is the guy actually like says, "Oh, I thought this guy was a creep, but he's actually a good person."
Yeah.
And so maybe just like another person just recognizing that.
Which is the thing, right? Like, I think even more so than the sex stuff, the powers seem to be more about like just giving you a window into someone who thinks that you're cool. Like,
Right. Yeah.
so in that case, yes, I guess so.
Which is maybe it's an unfortunate title that they gave it, but maybe it's a translation thing. I don't know.
I mean, it
Nope.
sure is
No,
a
you said
title,
Bryce.
though. It sure is a
No,
title,
no, no.
though.
Yeah. No, I was gonna say going back to would I like trade my sexual experiences
For superpowers.
for superpowers? For this one, I don't think so.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. If the telepathy was more in depth, then yeah, like Professor like Professor Ice level. And then would the power go away once I do eventually have sex? Because then you could like telepathically control someone to have sex with you.
Yeah, see, that's where like the
That would be
moral
right,
stuff comes
Bryce.
in
Don't
of
do
like,
that.
I know. That's what I was saying. But then the power would go away, right?
yeah, I mean, like even for these powers, you're like kind of invading someone's inner thoughts. Like Kurosawa does not want Adachi to see him picturing some of the things he's picturing, I'm
Well,
sure.
he even says, "Oh wow, I hope he." Imagine if he could read my mind right now. That would be so embarrassing, or something like that. After he's thinking some really like lecherous thing towards Adachi, and Adachi's like, "Oh no," because he actually has seen
Has
what
read his
he's
mind,
thinking,
yeah.
seen that he wants to lick the mole on his neck or whatever it was.
Although Kurosawa does in like out loud say, "I want to thank you with my body" at least once in here. So there's that.
Yeah, did he? That's the thing about this comic. Did you guys ever have any difficulty figuring out what was being said and what was being thought, and then by whom?
Oh yeah. And then I
The
kind
by
of
whom a little bit, yeah.
yeah.
Like, wait, just paging through it now, I'm realizing more that like the thoughts are never in bubbles; they're just floating which I guess I'll have to pay more attention to.
Yeah, that's sort of, at least I think, like kind of the manga style instead of like having, oh no, here's some thoughts in a thought balloon. So I don't know, Pat. It's not on
Yeah,
you entirely.
I had first off, it's a manga, so you have to read it the opposite direction, which always takes me a little bit to get used to. But then, yeah, I was having difficulty. Like, okay, these are thoughts and that this person's thinking. But yeah, mostly I got it. There's just a couple panels where I was a little confused.
I guess overall, yes, the powers would be beneficial, is what I've decided.
Matt, have you said what powers you would want if you were going to give up sex?
I don't think I can do it. I don't think my marriage would survive if I said yes to that question.
All right, fair
Yeah.
enough.
You can negotiate like an open relationship, and then your partner can do whatever they want, and then you could have the superpowers.
See, I might feel weird about that though, Bryce.
And I guess the question is, do these powers go away after, like, if
They
Adachi does
they do.
have sex? They do?
They do in the show. They do.
Spoilers, but
Yeah,
yeah.
turns out it's gonna happen.
That's when the
Yeah.
true power gets released and he turns into the Hulk or something.
I was gonna say, I know how Magical Girl manga works, and I'm pretty sure
Yeah.
his powers would just level up. It's like if it was a
They turn
shonen
into
manga, he would
they
just
tr-
level up into like a super
yeah, he turns
whatever.
into a witch, and then intergalactic aliens harvest him for energy to prevent entropy. Right? That's what happens.
Yeah, that's how that goes.
Okay, cool, awesome. Saw that one coming. Yeah, touch telepathy, not worth it. Yeah,
No, I
you
don't
gotta
think
up
so.
that a little bit.
Pat,
Oh,
what would
yeah.
be your line though, Pat?
Oh, I don't know.
What would
Like,
be your line though,
control of
Pat?
time would be pretty cool, right? Right?
Good.
Like being able to like stop time but have like no effect on you. Because you gotta have that caveat. Because if you don't, you're gonna die
Yeah.
real quick.
Well, yeah, I mean, like, there's no point in stopping time if you stop time and you're just frozen in the same second
No,
forever.
I'm saying like if you stop time and you continue age at your own rate. So you stopped
Oh, I see what you're saying.
time for like a day. You aged a day. No one else in the entire world did. You're gonna die a lot faster than everyone.
Yeah.
You do get to stop time though.
True. Maybe that'll be like the handoff, the monkey's paw, so that I can have the power. I don't know. But I'd say that. I think that'd be pretty cool.
I'd go full Franklin Richards and warp reality.
Yeah, reality bender. Nice.
Yeah.
I never,
Nice.
I never understood that power as a power. It's just like that's just a you can do anything
Yeah.
power.
Yep. You can do whatever you want.
I mean, time stopping is sort of the same thing.
I mean, there's at least a limit on that, like theoretically.
If you
Like,
have infinite time to do anything you wanted, you could do anything you want.
sure, but a reality warper can just do it like instantaneously.
Sure, there's more work on my end. I agree, but I could still have it.
Neither of them are touch telepathy though, which is what we're here to talk about.
Which is a
Right.
crap ability.
It's not great. I guess for this specific thing that the goddess of love is trying to do though, might actually be good. I've come around on it.
Yeah.
It's interesting they call them wizards too. I wonder if it's just translation stuff. I gotta look up.
It is because I think they just use the word maho, which is just magic.
Like a
So I think
mage.
the title I think translates into magic user.
Yeah, okay.
Basically.
That makes sense.
Yeah, I guess Bryce, my final question for you before I let us get away from this, because I can't resist stretching the format of the podcast a little bit, is
I
like,
had another one too, so let's see.
okay. um, like as a person who at least kind of knows like what it's like to be gay in Japan, how is this like how is this material received there, if that makes any sense? And I know that's a big question, so you don't have to get into you don't have to try to like broadly
Well, you said this
specify it.
was catered towards a female audience, right? And
Yeah.
I mean,
written by
maybe,
a
right?
female
Like, is that
author.
still true at this point?
Yeah, it's still true.
Okay. Yeah,
The
I guess
majority of
I was just
readers.
like kind of curious about that of like I know you said
Yeah.
that the experience is not your experience overall too,
But
so
you wouldn't get side-eyed at a store by picking this up as a guy, would you?
I might actually. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because the gay Japanese people that I've talked to always thought it was weird that I liked boys love.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Interesting.
because they're like, oh, that's for women. It's for girl. That's a girl thing.
yeah,
Yeah.
continue.
Because the characters are usually drawn like much more feminine, and they're written in a much more feminine way. that appeals to female readers. Whereas if it were a gay guy doing it, the characters would be much more, I think, rougher looking and more like muscular
A
looking,
little buffer,
Masculine.
yeah.
Sure.
and there would probably like be actual like sex. When
Okay.
I went to when I went to a bookstore in Fukuoka, there's a huge manga store, and there's like one level that's all boys love stuff or like adult-ish stuff. I was like one of two guys on that entire floor. Everybody else was women shopping for boy
Really
magazine. Yeah.
interesting.
See, that's why I asked, because I figured like you probably have some pertinent information slash perspective to shed on it too, because again, it's a thing that's really not in my wheelhouse, and it's more in yours. So I figured, well, we had you here.
And like no one really gave me like a weird look, but they were probably thinking like, oh, he's a random foreigner dude that is, being a perv and getting all the stuff that he can only get here. He's just an otaku.
Yeah, that's so odd to me. Like I get it. Like I definitely get it. Like, but at the same time, that's really interesting that the people depicted in the books are not the people that are the target audience for the books a little bit. Hmm. All right, Pat, what's your question?
I was just gonna ask, what do you guys think about the extra material that was added to this? The like different perspective chapters that we got. I think it obviously flushes out the story because I think they realized that volume 1 would be pretty light. I think it
Yeah,
is still pretty light even with it, but
it is a little light. Like the fact that Bryce says the TV show fleshes it out a little bit, I completely understand why they would feel the need to do that. Because again, we don't really get much about. I can't even tell you what Adachi's job is. You know?
he's
Like I
a
know he does
salaryman.
computer stuff with
Yeah,
data and enters it maybe, and he gets a guy cake once.
I think it's advertising or something like that.
Advertising or sales or whatever.
Yeah.
See, we don't know. We don't know. So like,
Well, do they tell you in the show though, Bryce? Do you know?
I don't remember.
Because I don't think it's an important detail for the
Yeah.
story at all.
no, it's not really. That's true. But like, I get that the show would maybe take the time to flesh some stuff out, and I did. I enjoyed the extra chapters.
Yeah.
I liked getting Kurosawa's perspective, and that's I think when you see him actually making the breakfast too, and noting that he thinks Adachi would like Japanese food.
Yeah, I liked the scene where Kurosawa had just like made a mistake in a big important meeting and had gotten drunk or something and had to leave. And then there's the cute scene where Adachi lets Kurosawa rest his head on his lap on a bench in a park, and Adachi's like, "No, you're great. You did so much work." And that's when he falls in love, like actually starts seeing Adachi as a potential
Love
crush.
interest. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was cute.
And there's
And
that
yeah,
extra Suge bit in here too, right?
yeah, it's from the delivery guy's perspective.
Yeah.
Who it'd be nice if we got a name for in this volume, but that's why you got to read volume 2. I mean, we got a name for the cat, but not the delivery guy.
A lazy name for the cat.
That's a cute name. You found him in an udon box. What are you gonna call him? Come on. Yeah,
Bryce, do you also have an extra question?
I've gotten like a couple extra ones. So.
No, I'm good.
All right,
All right.
cool.
Well then, I think that is going to do it for this month's discussion of Cherry Magic. 30
Hey,
years of
Magic.
virginity can make you a wizard.
Oh,
As
do we want
always,
to do? Sorry, do we want to do
oh,
recommendations, or do we want to leave that off?
we, I didn't have it on there. I haven't thought of any. Do you have some?
For a joke, I was gonna say sex criminals. It's like powers and sexuality, but it's slightly different. Slightly different.
I actually think it's not a terrible recommendation.
Hey,
It's very much not a boys love thing. So if you're specifically into that, but if you want like the
it's
emotional
sex
connection
related
stuff,
mad or like powers. So
yeah, and I think even more than that, like the emotional connection stuff of two people just trying to figure out how to like talk to each other and maybe be in a relationship or whatever, like
yeah,
that stuff rings a little true. So it's
yeah.
not as joke of a recommendation as you think it is, maybe.
Haha.
I guess I would ask Bryce if he has any
Bryce,
recommendations.
do you have some boy love stuff that you would recommend off of this?
I definitely recommend watching the TV show because it's
The
really good.
show? All right. Where would people
Uh,
watch that, or where did you watch it?
it's on Crunchyroll legally.
Hey, nice.
There you go,
Very nice.
and it's free.
Maybe that's how I'll experience Volume 2.
It's a good show. I liked it.
I like wholesome romantic stuff, like My Love Story. In this, it's
I was
it's
gonna
cool.
say, I think like
Yeah.
as a podcast, we are overall very about wholesome romantic things. So expect more of that,
Uh,
listeners.
yeah, for boys love stuff. Sekai Ichi Hatsu Koi. It's a really long name. Uh, The World's Greatest First Love is really good. For a non-BL but also romance, I would probably say Rent a Girlfriend is really good. So 2 other recommendations.
Sounds good. And with that, I think that's going to do it for this month's discussion of Cherry Magic. 30 Years of Virginity Can Make You a Wizard. As always, if you want to get in touch with Pat or myself, you can find us on Twitter as @WattPodcast. You can also email us at waitingonthetrade@gmail.com and read more comics-related goodness at mattreadscomics.com. Bryce, do you want people to find you online? If so, where?
You can find me on Instagram at Duo Maxwell with 3 L's at the end.
That one I will put in the show notes, even though the show notes will be a little bit tighter this time. So, Bryce, thanks for coming on. Did you enjoy the new discussion format?
Yeah.
Wow, just putting well.
Seeking
No, I
criticism
hate
in
it.
real
This
time.
was so dumb.
It's so dumb. I'm never coming back. I hate you all.